Good afternoon and welcome to First Alarm Family First. I'm Carolyn Acosta.
And I'm Jen Herrera. The First Alarm family has been very busy the past couple of weeks. You have been everywhere.
Yeah, this past week was pretty busy for First Alarm. We had the walk and it was very successful. We raised $7,950 for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. Then on Friday, we joined the South Florida Building Officials Association at the PBA building. And that was a great event. They were raising funds for the Love Fund. Met some great people, introduced First Alarm. That was very nice. And on Saturday morning, I was at the Miami Lakes Caution CrossFit. It was a men's wellness day event. And First Alarm was there, just kind of bringing more awareness to mental health along with physical health, how the importance of both of them are.
I love the PBA event for the whole domino aspect because that's so South Florida, right?
Yes.
To get people together to play dominoes, to raise awareness and to raise money. I also love the CrossFit idea, Carolyn, because that environment, that is the group, one of the groups who we are targeting. You know, you mentioned that there were a lot of men in there, burly men working out, exercising, and their response to you, I think, is really important to talk about how positive and how open they were to hear more.
Yeah, they were actually very appreciative that I was there and bringing more awareness to this because not only is it your physical health, you know, your strength, but also your mental strength. In life, you know, life, there's so many things at you and you have to be mentally strong for a lot of them. So it goes hand in hand.
Yeah. First Alarm is everywhere. And
Yes.
I know you are working, burning the candle at both ends. That's something that's taking place in South Florida, but something that happens statewide. You may have seen Attorney General Ashley Moody shared some pretty big information on National First Responder Day last week. And what she did was there's something called the First Responder Hope Line, which is an 866 number. And up until last week, it was available in 11 counties for first responders. So whether it's police officers, firefighters, or military, it's a toll-free number that 24 hours a day, they can now call for help. Yes. So no matter what they're dealing with, every single first responder across our state has access to help. And this is not just any help. And this is why I think this is huge, what the Attorney General and others have put into place. They have people on the other end of the line who know how to help.
I love that. I love that they have that staff that are experienced and have worked that same line of duty, and they understand what these men and women go through and can help them when they're in their time of need. Yeah, they can relate. Definitely.
The number is easy to remember. It's 1-866, the number 4FL HERO. So again, 1-866, the number 4FL HERO. So if you are a first responder, just jot it down, put it on the refrigerator, save it in your cell phone, or maybe send it to a loved one who may need it. And Attorney General Moody said one of the reasons that they decided now was the time, in addition to it being National First Responder Day, was also the recent storms. You had Helene and you had Milton, and you had first responders across our state who were deployed in the state of Florida and beyond. And they felt that this was an issue that they needed to address then to get them the help they needed based on what they saw. I also think it's important, you know, for first responder families, you know, they perhaps have had their loved one be deployed for the very first time. So the timing is really important. Just a reminder, while we're talking about hurricanes, we are officially in the month of November, which means the end of hurricane season is just a few weeks away. And we hope, God willing, that nothing like this happens again for the next few weeks when it comes to the storms out there. The end of the month, so November 30th, hurricane season does wrap up. Hard to believe that we are in November already, which means the holidays are right around the corner. I have to tell you, my friend, I thought about you a lot over the weekend because I'm one of those crazy people who decorates for Christmas on November 1st. But in all seriousness, I was thinking about you because I know your holiday season is going to look very different this year.
Yeah, it's definitely a mix of emotions. You know, it's hard to imagine that Alex is not going to be with us this year. And with all that, you know, I'm trying to look out for my son too and his feelings. It's definitely going to be hard. Our home was the place to go for all holidays. We would always have Thanksgiving, you know, Noche Buena. We would do the pig roast, the PJs the next morning for brunch. So that's going to be hard. But we're going to have to come up with our own new traditions now, it's a different look at life now, you know, and it's fine. We'll figure it out, I guess, as we go.
Your outlook and your positivity, and I've told you this 1,000 times, I know, it's amazing. yes, your holidays are going to look different, but we have been pretty adamant about letting you guys know that what we're doing here is for all first responder families. And we know that for a lot of you, this may be the first holiday season without your loved ones home for different reasons. For instance, if your husband or wife just became a first responder, and that's an adjustment because they're not always around. Right. On the holidays, given the shift. And so we've been through it, them having to work. I know that I've celebrated even as a kid, and now with my husband, we've celebrated Thanksgiving on many Wednesdays, many Fridays, sometimes even Saturdays. I'm sure that you have similar stories like that. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. We would have to change our schedules, and, it is what it is. It was part of our life, It's, you just adjust.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's the adjustment.
You just have 2 Thanksgivings, 2 Christmases, whatever.
You get a lot of turkey.
You get a lot of turkey. Yeah.
But we could talk about this subject for a really long time, and we are going to do that on our next show. We are actually going to have a therapist come on with us because we are the experts based on experiences in our lives. So we can tell you that side, but we also wanted to get a mental health professional. So they will be up here with us on our next show, joining us and talking about the whole holiday experience and what that's like and how to kind of navigate it.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. But today we have a guest.
Yeah, so let's just jump right into it. Today we have a Miami-Dade homicide detective. His name's Danny Morales, and he's the president and founder of Bleeding Blue. And he's joining us today, and we're really excited to have him here today.
Danny did something pretty amazing. What you're looking at right now on your screen, this is the flyer for the conference in 2025. So yes, we are already hyping up next summer's conference. But what Danny did in its the inaugural event, correct? First year, this past summer, he got more than 400 first responders to attend a mental health conference, in addition to about a dozen mental health experts. Carolyn, man, I mean, this is why we started this, right? Yes. To get the first responder community comfortable with coming out to events, talking about how they're doing, sharing experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And he did this, 400 first responders.
Amazing.
I love it. Year.
I love it. I wish that, Alex would have been able to make it. I'm looking forward to next year. It brings joy to my heart that you've started this.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, the goal is to do bigger and better always in life. And hopefully we're able to merge that gap between law enforcement and first responders. Being able to collaborate with you guys is an honor. And, I will take this opportunity to share with the world and everybody watching that we are dedicating the conference to Alex this year. So
thank you. Really, truly. I think that, like I said, brings joy to my heart. So Danny, can you share with us your personal journey and what motivated you to start Bleeding Blue and advocate for mental health?
Yeah. So we started this organization. I was actually looking at my phone and I just realized that today's November 4th. And we started exactly 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't realize the date when we scheduled this podcast, but it was exactly 2 years ago when my family, my brother, and everybody came together and we were like, hey, we need to do something a little different. There's plenty of organizations out there that support law enforcement, but there's stuff missing. There's bridges that need to be fulfilled and bridge that gap together. It was after Cesar Echeverry got shot and killed. He worked for my brother. He was a fellow officer of ours. I responded to the hospital in a homicide capacity, so it was tough. And then directly after that, Damian Colon was shot by his girlfriend in the city of Hialeah. And thankfully, he's still alive with us today, but he's not the same, and there's still a long road to recovery. And that's kind of when we started the organization. My mom came up with a clever name, and we've just been running since. It's a lot of sweat and tears that go into it. Thankfully, we've been able to donate over $250,000 to help 44 families now. And then we've gone from helping officers injured and fallen on the line of duty, and then we moved into off-duty incidents. We've moved into hurricane relief efforts. We just came back from Tampa and helped a lieutenant from Pasco County over there just completely demolish his house. And the mental health side of things. So it's definitely a broad range of stuff, but we're able to handle it. We have a good group of volunteers.
Danny, you said your mom helped come up with the name. You are a police officer. Your brother is a police officer. Your stepfather retired?
Yep.
PD, correct? How has your mom's involvement helped you guys, and how do you think it's helped her? Because being the wife of a first responder and the mother, that's not easy.
Yeah. So God bless her soul.
Yeah.
There was at one point my stepdad and my brother were both active at the same time, and then when I got hired, my stepdad was already retired, so he was already like tuning out basically.
Yeah.
But he still kind of lives through us, so he's constantly calling and trying to figure out like, hey, what's going on, or, like, tell me about this case and all that stuff. So he's still actively involved. And then we started Bleeding Blue, and it was just all hands on deck. It kind of keeps them going. The reason why I started it, I always say that God forbid this something would happen to me and my brother, somebody would do this for my mom and my dad.
Exactly.
So they see that mission, they see the impacts that we're making. They're there when we do deliver these checks. At the end of the day, money's not going to bring back a loved one, but it does give some ease to these families. And at the end of the day, we continue to bring these families to different events to support other families that we're assisting. Just this weekend we hosted a 3rd annual softball tournament for Etchi, and another officer that we supported, he lost his leg. He's now not barely able to walk, and he's there supporting another family. So it's kind of cool how everybody comes together.
That's awesome. So Danny, what are some of the biggest challenges you think you've encountered when discussing mental health with first responders and addressing like their challenges? Have you ever? Yeah,
so we realized really quickly that transparency is key. And being in homicide, I've seen my fair share of stuff in 3+ years. It's over 300 death investigations. We're very busy. And me personally, like I've gone through my downs and ups and highs like everybody does in life. But I've realized that me being able to talk about these things has opened up the doors to everybody else in the homicide unit to be able to openly talk about these things too. And I've seen it firsthand where we're sitting now in the pit of our office, and it's just like a round table where everyone has lunch. And we're able to just discuss like, hey, this case really messed me up. What can we have done differently? Who do we talk to? And, our department thankfully has a psychological services department, and they're able to go there for free and see the therapist and whatnot. And it's confidential and stuff, but no one's open to that. There's people that are not open to going and talking to a therapist that's from your police department, who you're going to see at the pig roast, or who you're going to see at a roll call or something like that. And at the end of the day, we're human beings. Everyone talks. I don't care what anyone says. Yeah. This is my personal opinion. A therapist is bound to the information that they receive, but who knows if things get out, right? So then that's the scare that all these officers have. So opening up the door to letting them know that there's other resources out there, other foundations, other organizations, peer support teams, even just a friend that you want to talk to, that kind of has been, key to getting us to where we're at now.
I'm curious, and Carolyn and I discuss this a lot, and we have spoken about this with individuals from a local fire department. When you were going through the police academy, when you were going through recruit training, was there, or is there some sort of curriculum for maybe the mental health aspect, or a course of like what to deal with, how to deal with, what to do after you see something traumatic, after a certain type of call? Is there anything like that within the curriculum of the police academy?
No.
Okay.
That's the flat answer. And it might be touched on very like briefly, if that, but there's no like course, right? So the police academy is a FDLE course that is very structured, and it's like from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. you're going to be doing this, right. And then from the next day from 7 to 2 you're going to be doing this, and it's very structured. And there's no course that actually just sits here and lets these officers that are coming onto the job, that they're very early on, let them know what they're going through. So I actually have the opportunity of teaching at Miami-Dade College now, and I incorporate this as part of my homicide training. So I may display some pictures on the screen, and then I'll give them the reality of it. Like, hey, yeah, it's just a picture right now, but you're going to see this. You're going to be the first person to go to this call before you call a homicide detective. And we kind of incorporate the Bleeding Blue aspect of it, and letting them know what we do, and just opening their eyes to, the reality of the job.
You guys have almost organically started your own course. You talked about how you guys sit around the table and talk about the calls that you go on. It's almost like you've created that now, but it would be so much more helpful in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, like everything in life, it's like you learn from the experiences that other people have gone through. But that's the good thing about it, is you have to learn from those experiences. If you just look at them and say, okay, that sucked, then we're not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
And what would you say to families that have first responders? How can they support them?
So I think it's kind of tough. There's days where I just want to go home and sit down and watch TV and just relax and like de-stress. Thankfully, I live 45 minutes away from my house, or I work 45 minutes away from my house. So it's like that drive, I take that to decompress. So when I get home, I'm able to just have that conversation. But don't allow that partner of yours to shut you out. There's a lot of police officers that will go home and they'll tell me that they go home and they're like, oh, I don't want to expose my wife, or I don't want to expose my girlfriend to the stuff that I see. But that's just you like keeping it inside. Right. If you really think about it. Who are you talking to? You know, or do you have somebody else to talk to that you are open to like sharing those experiences with? Okay, we can leave the girlfriend and the wife out of it and the kids out of it, but just make sure that they're talking to somebody else, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a friend, a coworker, you know, whatever it is. I think that just being able to just let stuff out is the start. And then you start little by little, you start realizing, okay, what is it that bothers me, and why are these things bothering me? What are the triggers?
Yeah, looking back now, I think I would have done that 100% different. I mean, Alex was very same way. Came home, I asked him how his, you know, night went. It was busy, it was tough, a rough call, but I never really dug into it. So to me, I think I would definitely start making that time to sit and just be like, no, we got to talk. Yeah. And even going to therapy with him, you know, as a unit, you know, I think that is key. And if I would tell any other first responder wife, like, make yourself present and, you know, don't just ignore, because I know they're tough and they have it under control, but sometimes you just don't. And you're just trying to hide to keep your family from worrying.
Yeah. I've realized like there's things that I've seen in the homicide bureau that are just cases, right? Like I can't drive behind a fuel truck anymore, right? It's because I had a fuel truck that exploded and killed 2 people. And I just realized that recently the other day, where I was like talking to myself in the car and I was just like, I hate these freaking trucks. Like they're always in the way or whatever. And now I associate it to something else. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I'm sitting at the pool and one of my best friend's kids is swimming and she stopped swimming for like 2 seconds, and I go to jump in the pool and it's like, I think she's drowning, but she's just swimming, you know, and it's stuff like that. And immediately I called my best friend and I was like, hey, listen, like this is what is going through my head, you know, and I scheduled a therapy appointment right after that.
That's great.
Know? So it's being able to talk about it. It's being able to have a group of people around you that are willing to talk about it as well. You know, thankfully we do have, you know, Bleeding Blue does have people readily accessible. We have chaplains on our team. Clinicians that are now jumping on board after this mental health conference that have realized what we're trying to do is just bigger than, you know, a Saturday with a bunch of cops together. So it's definitely been a blessing.
Yeah. Have you seen it? I mean, I know that you've seen it firsthand. We talked about the numbers as far as people coming out to the conference, but have you received a phone call? Has your brother received a phone call? Somebody in that moment needing your help and knowing that they could go to you guys for it?
So that's how it started, right? So we know of the director that attempted to commit suicide. Thankfully, it didn't. He didn't pass away, and he's with us today. We hosted a prayer night for him originally when the incident occurred, and at that prayer night, my brother receives a phone call from somebody that I went to the police academy with, and it was basically that person saying, "Hey, I want to commit suicide. I want to do it the right way." And you know, everyone dropped what they're doing, and thankfully, she got the help that she needed. And that was when we realized that we need to do this at a bigger scale, you know, try to reach more people, get these speakers to come in and give different insights, you know, have the clinicians there readily accessible. And if you don't want to speak to a clinician, and we had a couple organizations there that are faith-based, you know, so if you just wanted prayer, that was there ready for you too. If your struggles were finances, we had 2 financial planners there, you know, that they can sign up and get assistance for. You know, so we've ever since the conference, a lot of people have called me, and I'm nobody myself. I'm just Joe Schmo, right? I'm just a cop that works in homicide that wants to help people. So sometimes we'll get the call from the family member, a brother or sister or mother, and they'll be like, hey, this is what my loved one is going through. You know, how can we steer them in the right path? And then learning a little bit about the story and stuff, then I kind of just can facilitate, you know, what resources are best for them.
Why do you think, and I keep saying this number because it's incredibly impressive, it's not just 400 people in attendance, it's more than 400 first responders in attendance. What are you guys doing that's right? Because the resources are there, the help is there, but sadly, people aren't always taking advantage of it. So what are you guys doing that's working?
Honestly, I have no clue, but it's in God's hands.
Yeah.
I truly believe, and I truly believe that when you do something for the right reason, God takes care of the rest. You know, when we started the idea of the conference, we thought it was going to be just a waste of money. We're going to have a lot of debt. And thankfully, it was a complete opposite. And I think it was, I want to say like 427 was the number that was there. We had people from different states that came in. You know, we had 2 very known speakers that came and shared their experiences. And you know, it was amazing. Honestly, I had people that came up to me and they were like, "Danny, you saved my life," and they would walk away and I'd be like, "Okay, I didn't catch your name."
It's overwhelming. I mean, it's got to be overwhelming to hear.
It was a lot, you know, to host it on our side, but then the feedback that we got from it was even. I mean, we're doing it again.
Right. It just goes to show that you're on the right path and you're doing the right thing. You know, I feel the same way too with First Alarm. Is that doors are opening. I don't know what I'm doing either, but I feel like it's something that's you're doing really obviously something that is very needed in this community and culture, and I feel like, you know, God is leading us to this direction, and there's a purpose. There's a bigger purpose than we can even imagine, and this is good. And like I said, this fills my heart. It makes me happy that we're here and we're doing this and we're talking about mental health and the struggles that we all go through. It doesn't matter what career you have, but it just goes to show that first responders are not looked at like that. As you know, you go for them for help. You don't go to ask. You're not supposed to ask for help if you're a first responder, which is crazy to me. You know, you guys see and witness so many things that are not normal for your brain to process.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the statistics, don't quote me on them, but it's like the amount of stuff that an officer or a firefighter will see in their career, a normal human being won't see that in their lifetime.
Right.
You know, so it's great to be able to talk about these things and come forward and be transparent and have organizations like mine and yours. And I congratulate you for everything that you're doing. It's amazing in such a short time span that you've started the organization. You're definitely making waves. But we have to come together and work with everybody that's doing these type of things to be able to tell everybody out there, hey, listen, this is the reality of everything. I think I told you earlier, we just got to embrace the suck. And, you know, that comes from just, you know, we know it exists. We know that it's out there. We have a living testimony of it. And we just got to push through.
When you were talking about embracing the suck, you were talking about, you know, we had a guest on our last podcast who's on the other end of it, right? But sometimes when any of us, first responders or not, are in the middle of something, it's so hard to get out of it. And with what both organizations are doing, it's working. It's working. Right? It's working. Because this is kind of our baby in this respect when it comes to the families, when it comes to the spouses. And we touched on it a little bit with your mom. How important is that family support and that knowing that you can have that conversation at home?
I mean, it's huge. At the end of the day, like I can go to my mom, I can go to my dad and be like, hey, listen, I had a rough day, you know, and then even that doesn't stop there. You have to continue to like follow up with everybody that you reach out to, because you really never know what path they're going on, right? Because it all bottles up, right? So it's not only the stuff that you see from your job. At the end of the day, we all have regular personal lives. So I'm struggling with finances. I just went through a breakup. My house is in foreclosure. We've had an officer reach out to us recently and be like, hey, I'm homeless. I have nowhere to go. You know, can you imagine that? And then you expect her to go to the job and be normal, right? You know, so it's like they combine everything together and they just blow up. And unfortunately, as a family member of someone that's going through something like this, you know, you have to be on top of them. And I get it. Sometimes it's tough, but we know the end result. Right. And being able to just come out and just talk, it's communication is key. I think that's the biggest thing.
Has it been cathartic for you? I know that you mentioned that when you're feeling a certain way, you ask, you go to somebody, you'll go to therapy. Has bleeding blue in itself been cathartic for you?
Bleeding blue has been tough. I'll tell you that. It's a lot to handle. We've definitely grown more than what I can handle, but we make it happen. Thankfully, I have a lot of good volunteers. We've realized that the need is bigger than just what we're trying to do. And, you know, it's hard to say that I don't have those moments where it's like, I just want to quit. You know, somebody texted me today and she was like, hey, I hope you have a great day. I'm just checking in on you. And I was like, I needed that today, you know, and we had a whole long conversation. She was like, take a vacation, do something, like take care of yourself, because then you can't help everybody else. So I took a step back on the drive over here and I was like, okay, let me breathe. Let me like come down to Danny's level and not just like going at 100 miles an hour. So, I mean, being busy is good, but being not realizing that you're doing harm to yourself is also not good.
Well, we're not stressful. We hope that it got a little bit easier once you got here.
You're doing great.
You guys talked about next year's event. This is huge because it's an honor.
Well, I'm really excited about that. And I really appreciate you like reaching out, because I think this year's conference, like I said, like when I heard about it, I was like, wow, what a great idea, and to have that there for the first responders. And I'm so happy that Alex is, for next year, it'll be dedicated to him. And I think that it's definitely going to be an amazing event. I want all our first responders, law enforcement, fire, rescue, all of them to just go to this conference and get all the resources that you could possibly, listen to stories, know that you're not alone, and you can always ask for help. Like, help is there. And I'm just really excited about it, Danny.
Yeah, so we plan on having a little bit of along the entire spectrum, right? So we'll have some firefighters speaking, some officers speaking, and then some motivational speaking as well. And people can grasp something from everybody, at the end of the day, it's not necessarily about your profession itself. If you're there already, it's you're gonna leave with something. That was what we realized at the conference. Even if you didn't like the speaker personally, or you had a different view on him personally, there was the reason why we chose them, and it's because they're very well spoken, and they've already gone through embracing the suck, and they got through it, and they're at the tail end of it, and they're just here to help people. And like I said, the vendors being there is amazing. So I'm very happy that we're going to be able to collaborate on it, and hopefully we can do double the numbers this year and get 800 there.
I think that's a great goal. Yeah. Is it for retirees as well?
It's actually just open to anyone, right? First responders overall.
Awesome.
I encourage families to attend it actually more than the actual first responder themselves, which is something that I was preaching last year when I was doing all these podcasts and stuff and trying to get the word out there. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to see it. And if the family member and the spouse doesn't realize what the person's going through, this person's never going to go through, realize what they're going through, right? So it might take my partner at home telling me, hey, you're acting a little weird, you're off today, did something happen, for me to be able to open up about it. So we encourage the families to go out there. It's not kid friendly because there's,
it's heavy.
There's
heavy conversation.
We did have some kids that were there or whatnot, but teenagers and stuff. But it is open. Retirees go through it too.
Absolutely.
They've already done their 30 years,
and sometimes more once they're no longer.
My stepdad was front row.
Yeah,
he was there. And there was a lot of people there that definitely received the message and have even jumped on board. And we have an ambassadors group chat, and it's growing every single day, and they're just hey, I love what you're doing. I want to be able to help people the way someone helped me in the past.
Yeah. So what should people do if they're watching this right now, or maybe they can't make it to the event next year, but they want to help? First of all, are tickets on sale yet, or where can they donate?
So bleedingblue.info is where we have the most of our information on the website. The date is locked in. We're going to be doing it at FIU again. We're working on the speakers as we speak, just to make sure that we have the right people that we want there. Social media is huge for us, so keep up with our social media channels so that way they can see where the tickets are, when the tickets are available. And I'm personally going to go to every 37 police departments. Hopefully we can get fire on board and make sure that it's pushed out as an actual training day. So if you see that email come through with your police department as a training, you can attend it for free.
Oh, I like that. So on the calendar, it'll be a training day.
So we did 10 departments last year. And the goal is to lock in every single agency now.
That's huge.
Yeah. So for instance, Miami-Dade Police Department sponsored 45 seats. Corrections sponsored 30. Different agencies, depending on their size, sponsored seats. So officers were able, this was on a Saturday. So they were able to come in and adjust their shifts throughout their week. And this is now they're there technically on paper 9 to 4, but they were there from 7 to 6. They stayed because it was such a good conference.
Yeah,
that's great.
And people left feeling a certain kind of way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Huge.
And I was head over heels. I was running around in the background, Chick-fil-A, here's your meals, everything just needed to go perfect. But at the end of it, I was able to come down to my foundation and just realize okay, this is God's work.
Yeah. And who knows how many lives were saved.
Oh my God.
From that day.
Yeah.
And going forward, not just that day, right? And going forward.
Yeah.
Danny, thank you.
Yes,
for being here.
You guys having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. And we appreciate all of you watching. We said it last time and we'll say it again. The response truly has been amazing. Please reach out to us if you are interested in being a guest. A reminder, on our next show, we will be joined by a professional therapist. Just give us some insight as we approach this holiday season. That's going to look very different for Carolyn and perhaps very different for all of you. And just kind of adjusting to the first responder wife or the first responder spouse lifestyle.
Yeah. It'll be a good podcast.
It'll be a good one as always.
So we also have the hockey game for first responders on November 14th. If you'd like to buy tickets, just visit my IG. It'll be a great night to watch a great hockey game and to join us. And then also we have the pig roast on the 16th.
And you'll be at the pig roast too, Dan.
I will be at the pig roast.
They're already practicing their roasting skills.
We are currently, as we speak right now, roasting a pig to practice so we can make sure we beat everybody else at the Miami-Dade Homicide Bureau. So.
Fire's competing too.
They are.
Yeah, they are. I think our rescue is too.
We know that all they do is cook all day.
That's a podcast for a show for another day. Hey, here's your reminder, as always, to sound the alarm.
Save a life.
We'll see you next time, guys.
Bye.